The Clean Car discount and fee is coming to an end at the end of the year. To explain the implications, Toyota New Zealand's Chief Executive Neeraj Lala is with us. So, Neeraj, how are you preparing for the end of the discount and fee?
Yeah, look, it's been fairly well announced in terms of sort of timing. Although the official announcement still hasn't been made that the 31st of December is the official date yet, because it's still going through the repeal process for the fees at the moment. In terms of readiness for us, most of the hybrids were removed from the rebate scheme in July, and so for us it's mainly how we handle and prepare ourselves in terms of the transition with the removal of the penalties from the 1st of January. So it may seem simple, but it's updating websites, it's updating business systems, and at this stage, for us it's looking pretty good. I mean, our position was that we were happy to go sooner if that was the case, because it was causing a little bit of havoc in terms of sales and deliveries, but it's just one of those things you just work through.
Do you support the measures being introduced?
You mean the removal of the fee?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I think I've been fairly vocal over the last sort of 18 months that I haven't been a fan of the scheme. I'm a huge fan of the Clean Car Standard, which is a supply side focus on reducing tailpipe emissions. But from the beginning, I haven't been a huge advocate of the Clean Car discount. So from our perspective, we're extremely satisfied to hopefully get back to normal.
But is there an argument that some kind of discount would be beneficial in the long run if we look at examples overseas?
Look, I think rebates are definitely a way of stimulating demand, 100%. I think, and I think it's fair to also recognise that the Clean Car discount has achieved its result, and the result is, how do we get an acceleration of more electrified product into New Zealand? And so it's definitely helped there. It's definitely helped in terms of early adopters, which we always see shifting to new technology. I think that's been extremely positive. But the area that had concerned me and continues to play a major role in terms of what the transition looks like is customers or demand, technology and infrastructure for this type of introduction needs to be aligned. And it needs to be aligned. If we don't have the charging infrastructure, it's hard to accelerate demand or sales. It's got to be affordable, and new tech is often not as affordable for most Kiwis. And I guess the big thing for us is when it comes to rebates versus fees, the scheme has to be sustainable. So around the world, you've seen fees, structures come in and then removed, and it becomes the responsibility of the manufacturers to continue that momentum, which I think is a really good playbook. But I think in New Zealand, I think we just went too hard on the rebates. I don't believe that it needed that scale of rebate, and I certainly don't believe it needed that scale of penalties on the non-electrified product. And that's why we find ourselves in a situation now where the fund is effectively broke and changes need to be made. And those were issues that we raised a long time ago.
Did it create an artificial sugar rush for cleaner vehicles, do you think?
100% it did. And changes to the scheme have created abnormal fluctuations in demand and supply that, quite frankly, the industry has found extremely difficult to cope with. So we've gone from record low months of total industry sales to record peak high months of record sales in the space of a 6-month period. And when you're also still continuing to navigate supply chain challenges, post-COVID, they've been extremely difficult challenges to cope with. So this month, our commercial sales, which, everybody over-indexes commercial sales or Hilux or Ranger sales. The fact for us anyway, Hilux only contributes about 20% of our total volume. So it's actually quite small relative to our total hybrids, which are now more than 50%. So what's happening is our commercial products have ground to a halt in terms of sales for December as people wait for the removal of quite a significant fee from, hopefully January once it's announced. But even then, until the announcement is made, there's no guaranteed whether the fees or the rebates will be staggered again as they were when they were introduced. So, if your memory banks are good, you'll know that the fees started a few months earlier than the penalties. And given the hole or the deficit in the fund, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a split between rebates and fees again, which again would create more havoc in the market in terms of sales and supply.
In terms of the attitude towards the fee while it's been in place, it was called the ute tax, it was targeting farmers, there was an attitude towards it as well. But were people still buying utes and just weathering that extra payment? Was there an actual shift to moving away from utes entirely, do you think?
Look, I think there's been a combination of both for us. We have worked hard with a number of our large direct customers, where Hiluxes weren't needed and RAV4 hybrids would do a more efficient job. And we have seen change in that area. And that was a conversation we had with the minister at the time, that these fluctuations continue to happen in our market. We saw this big shift from cars to SUVs to trucks as trucks became more attractive. But of course, the fee structure did shift customers back to hybrid SUVs where it made more economic sense. So definitely, it has definitely done it. However, I would say that a large portion of our Hilux owners use Hiluxes for specific purpose. Yes, there's an unfair stereotype that they're the Remuera tractor, which I think is unfair because the majority of our customers do use those trucks for business purpose. So those customers have just continued to purchase because they have to. They've absorbed the fee. And quite interestingly, since the rebates came off hybrids in July, our sales of hybrids have spiked. So it's that real, it's that debate we could have all day around, did the fees have an impact or the rebates have an impact? For hybrids, our demand has never been higher since the rebate was removed. So, yeah, it's a market force that's happening without an intervention.
So how do you plan for 2024? What are you expecting?
Look, we are approaching the year like we do any other year. We negotiate our sales volumes with Japan at least 2 years out. So we've made a forecast for this year, which will, I'm proud to say, in 2 weeks' time, we would have delivered a record number of cars to customers this year. We're expecting the market to soften slightly next year, but we've got our volumes in place irrespective of the government intervention. It's a playground that's fluctuated over decades, and we'll just manage those peaks and troughs and continue on.
So you're expecting a more normal trading environment?
Yes.
And what does normal mean?
Look, I think when you've got the intervention and the influence we've had over the last 18 months, we've had to really manage our inventory and supply extremely hard. We've had to manage our cash flow very carefully. So, for example, last month, most of New Zealand aren't aware of this, but we have to load VIN numbers into a government system, and we would normally get charged somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 a month to just upload a number into the government system so we can print a registration label. That fee increased 1,823%. So the fee to load one VIN in the system increased from $1.50 to $37. So our monthly bill went from $3,500 to $111,000. And so that was announced in April under a secret announcement, which was introduced from the 1st of October. I'm hoping those sorts of things under Minister Brown's leadership, I am positive that they will be better communicated and better considered moving forward.
And do you think this coalition government will, as a result of that, be more business friendly?
Look, I think I can't comment on the total coalition and the effectiveness of the coalition because that'll be, the proof in that pudding will be the execution of the Prime Minister's 90-day plan. But I will say that I do have more confidence in Minister Brown's understanding of unintended consequences and business impact than the previous leadership team.
For more content just like this and all the latest business and political news, head over to nbr.co.nz.